At this time, we'll go into public comment.
Mr. Chair.
Recognize the guy in the back.
Skip Claypool.
State your name.
Skip Claypool, Chesterland, Ohio. I wanted to provide to the board a audio recording of a meeting that was recently referenced in the paper. And just to make a brief comment on that, as a member of the Mental Health Board, we've got a really good board. It's very diverse in its thinking, and which is leading to very positive outcomes. We're searching right now for accountability, and so we ask a lot of questions. You're going to hear in that audio me asking questions of a sheriff deputy that came over for the DARE program, and somebody that came over for the Victims Loss program, and some other. What you will hear on that recording is a very respectful set of questioning. We have an obligation to search out the evidence. You know, everybody's talking about evidentiary, evidence-based decision-making. In order for us to understand the evidence, we have to ask questions. And so that's what you're going to hear on that audio. At no time did I attack or demean or belittle any of the participants. It was a matter of asking simple questions to try and discover or uncover more details. In the case of the deputy, he was presenting evidence and it referenced the fact that there was evidence supporting the DARE program. I'm not in law enforcement. And so I have to ask questions to discover what that evidence is. And he had referenced that, and so I had asked that question to try and discover what that evidence is. Can you provide that evidence so I can see it? We have an obligation to our taxpayers to make sure that these programs are working. The evidence is showing us that drug use is increasing, mental illness is increasing, depression amongst kids is increasing. There's movements to bring more sexual content into our schools, into our kids, which is very concerning to many of us. And so the only way for us to understand all of that is to ask questions. Our board has been pretty good at that. And so we banter around, that's a good thing. You know, having a robust conversation between adults at the table is healthy for the county, it's healthy for our citizenry, and I want to let you know that your appointees and the existing state appointees are having some pretty good conversations right now, and I think that's a healthy thing, and I want to let you know that. If any time there's any questions, you should reach out and talk to us. Sometimes people avoid, and the press has not done this too, and I had a conversation with Nathaniel Stapler a little bit ago. I encourage you to reach out to us and ask us questions. If there's any concern, whatever the case is, we're your appointees, you can certainly discover what we're thinking, what we're trying to accomplish, and so on and so forth. We might make mistakes, we might, we're volunteers, we're doing this the best that we can in the positions that we're in. Make no mistake. We have a sincere interest. We're not rubber stamping anything, as was past practice. And often is the practice on the part of boards. But this board is very concerned and does a lot of work. We do work on our own personal time to try and do homework on what is happening, how the programs are working, what agencies are doing, and so on and so forth. I just wanted to let you know that. If you have any questions for me, you're free to ask. Give me a call, pick up the phone. Jim, you're more than welcome to reach out and talk to me, and I will have a conversation with you about what's going on in the mental health board, if you choose to do that. And so I just wanted to let you know that the door is open for Marvin Shepard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From what I listened to, you disrespected the officer, and that's what really got me out of my chair. And that's why I asked for you and other three people, Jim, to write a letter of apology to the Sheriff's Department. We have one of the best Sheriff's offices in the state of Ohio, and for you to try to nail down some certain type of questions that cannot be answered. It's like, how effective is that stop sign? Well, if you take the stop sign down for 5 years, then you get some numbers who went through, accidents, and so on and so forth. That's what really bothered me when this episode happened on April 6th.
Well, Mr. Dvorak, I will, and I'm going to give Ms. Anastasia here a copy of the recording. Anybody that listens to that recording will hear, and I encourage anybody to listen to that recording, will not hear me disrespect this officer. I was asking respectful questions and not attacking him. He had made a statement, and I have a document that he provided to us that said there was evidence of the DARE program working. My question was, if there is evidence, can I see it? That was my question for him. And so, Mr. Dvorak, I understand there's a little bit of a rub between you and I because of the campaign. We got to let that go. This is about the citizens of Geauga County, and I'm working hard to ensure to fulfill my responsibility on that board in a responsible way. And so, I would ask you and encourage you to listen to the audio again, because I listened to it myself just to see if somehow I had, done something inappropriate. I did not. And
Well, there's other things other than disrespecting our police officers. I've been told, and I'll have to do my own research on it, that it's not only the sheriff's department, but a lot of times you and some others like to bully whoever is giving a presentation with your, remarks and things like that. And this particular officer that's in charge of DARE, on the tape it said that he offered any of you guys to go to a graduation, the Amish graduation. I did go. It was very impactful. The guy knows what he's doing. And for this first presentation that this person has ever done, maybe you seemed that it was like raw meat to get this guy going, to ask him some super tough questions that no one can answer.
That's ridiculous.
Like a 5-year look back and things like that.
If a person comes to the board and they're presenting a case, they better be prepared to answer questions. We're adults in that room, and we're not expecting softball kinds of things. We have responsibility to the taxpayers to be able to ask questions. And I get it. You have a problem with me. Again, that's a personal thing. You don't have to let that go. I would encourage the public to listen to that recording and judge for themselves.
The point is, you disrespected our police officers, and you have done nothing about it. No apology, no anything. I don't mind tough questions, but when you try to make somebody embarrass them and things like that, that's where you're wrong.
And that didn't occur.
Tough questions are
that
fine.
That did not occur, John.
Not what I heard. That's not what a lot of police officers in this great county states. I don't care if it's a township policeman or whatever. I think they're all with me on this one. So is there anybody else from public comment?
Yes, sir. I'd like to speak to you for a minute.
Your name, sir?
I'm Jimmy Lee Holden from Newberry Township. You got to try me in the court of public opinion with the newspaper from a June 30th article about our meeting. So I'm here to explain to you some things. You refer to me as a retired police officer, and that is true, but I'm still an active duty certified law enforcement officer. I just want you to know that. You said you reached out to the mental health board, according to the newspaper article, to ascertain or find out why we voted no for the DARE program. This is July 15th. I received no phone call from you, or you, Mr. Lennon. You both have my phone number.
I don't have your phone number.
You do have it.
I'd like to have it when you get done.
I will give it to you.
Great.
Just wanted to explain something to you. In 2000, the Department of Education announced that it would no longer allow schools to spend money to fund DARE programs, citing the work of scientific proof that the program was ineffective. That's 2000. That was 22 years ago. National Library of Medicine, June 2004, Volume 94, Number 6, American Journal of Public Health. Project DARE Outcome Effectiveness Revisited by 2 PhDs. Our results confirm the findings of a previous meta-analysis indicating that Project DARE is ineffective. Scientific evaluation studies have consistently shown that DARE is ineffective in reducing the use of alcohol and drugs, and is sometimes even counterproductive. Worse than doing nothing. That's the conclusion of the U.S. General Accounting Office, the U.S. Surgeon General, the National Academy of Sciences, and the U.S. Department of Education. You demand that I write a letter to Hildenbrand, you're not going to get it. If anybody deserves an apology, it's you to me. because I voted my conscience based on fact that I've known as my public duty for being a law enforcement officer for over 40 years. Yes, I get it. We're trying to safeguard taxpayer money. I'm a taxpayer too. And I'm going to ask those tough questions, just like Mr. Claypool, when we're trying to fund our mental health board. Make sure that the services that we're providing work. Here doesn't work. That's why I voted no. And I'll continue to vote no until they come up with a program that's proven to be effective. Now, I generally don't get involved in social media, and I really care less about public comments and letters to the editor. But there are some that say that I don't deserve to be on the board. Let me just say this. As a police officer, I respond to a lot of mental health crises. And I've had to deal with those crises pretty regularly throughout my career. So when somebody has a mental health breakdown, they don't call a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or a clinician. They call law enforcement. And we have to deal with it. And I've done a pretty good job over 40 years dealing with it, helping getting people to places where they need to get, oftentimes to get medicated and return home before I ever get off shift. So, for those of you who doubt my ability to be on the board, I think you ought to take another look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, what's your phone number?
I'll give it to you in private.
Oh, great. You know, it wasn't so much the DARE program, it was about the snarly type questions that Mr. Claypool was asking.
No, sir, you signaled me out on DARE, and that's
Well,
why I'm here.
you guys voted no, and the question was in the paper, why did you vote no? Now I know.
Should have asked me. I would have told you.
I didn't have your contact information.
You'll have it.
Anybody else?